recording it. But here's the thing. The stuff that we're going to talk about with games, first of all, will be relevant to you in your own lives because there are many times where you're running activities and the principles that you learn about in this games conversation will be really important. So I would suggest that you take notes or take a picture of the notes that Hua puts up there when we're done. The other thing is that there's just going to be some really good principles about working together as a team and leading as a team. And so that's going to be really helpful to you too. Finally, when we have youth group on Wednesday night, you guys all have a team that you're a part of, but you need to also pay attention to how you can help other teams with what they're doing. So, for instance, what are some ways that the core team can help the worship team when they're leading worship?
Being quiet and involved.
So being involved, being attentive, worshiping hard, not goofing off. We talk about that about every other week. What are some ways you guys could help the social media team or the video team? No.
Produce or promote their stuff, share it to your story, share it to...
Yes. As soon as you see the youth group post stuff, you're sharing it, you're promoting it, you're commenting on it. What else?
You take pictures and send them to them.
Yes, absolutely. Take pictures, take videos, and send them. Oh, by the way, always side to side if you're doing videos that you're saying to Joe, never up and down. Yep. But
you send me an up and down, I'll be able to do stuff with it. But
yeah, it limits you. KK and Serafina are now on the social media team, so you can send them pictures. Because the social media and video team really essentially are about telling our story.
Don't send them to me. Send them to Heather because I don't have social media.
Okay.
Where's Heather?
I have you. Shut up. Okay?
Send them to me. That's fine. How can you guys help the food team?
By not making a mess.
making donations.
Oh, my goodness. If any of you offered to make cookies or something for the food team, that's big time. That's big time.
If you brought cookies, I think we would eat them all before we even gave them to them.
That might be true.
I would eat like 50 billion.
But things like not making a mess, cleaning stuff up, it's good.
Appreciate the snack like cereal.
Yeah, cereal.
They didn't like that? They didn't like cereal?
Raisins like,
Yeah, we
super
do
good.
cereal.
Interesting.
People are judging me. I judged them back. It's okay.
What about
I punched someone. We all made it.
what about community groups? How can we all benefit community groups?
Contribute and give other people opportunity to talk if you like to talk a lot.
Yeah?
Can't relate.
You could give Rachel game ideas for the beginning.
I did. But it's in the board.
Icebreakers, yeah, that's good.
Remain focused.
Yeah, stay focused. Yeah, get involved. Very good. Did I miss any teams? We're going to talk about game team. That's the other one. Yeah. All right. So with games team, you'll see some ways that you can help out as you go through this training. But I guarantee you guys have no idea all the things that go into games. It's crazy. I've trained a lot of game leaders over the years, and they have this look on their face like, how hard could it be? It's basically like describing tic-tac-toe, and then everybody does it and has fun. And they get, how is it, Isaac?
It's not that easy.
It's not that easy. But a lot of the principles involved in games team have to do with organizing people, creating a certain environment, working together as a team. So this is going to be important for everybody. So first of all, Hua, go ahead and write this down. What should be the goals of our game time?
Bring people together.
Okay, so
Comfortable if we aren't as good at the game or something.
so
Safety.
yeah. So no, you're right. So safety. You could put included. Feel included.
No, Nick was the one that got his head hit by Jace back in the...
It's gonna be multiple.
Okay, it's Jason's fault. He's
Yes.
gone now.
It went-
Yeah,
yeah,
I haven't got injured since
We
then.
kicked him to Texas.
Create community. Somebody said create community. That's a huge one. Any others? Fun.
To win.
Yeah, for people to have fun. What?
Win.
That's not the
Competitive.
main. To bring people together.
Well, here's the thing. The reason that I wouldn't say winning is because at any given game night, there's winners and losers. So you can't say the point is winning. It's more of an individual thing. I would say engagement is very important. Engagement just means everybody's involved. It's a big part of having fun.
Positive environment.
Yeah, sportsmanship. That's a good version of winning. I sense a lot of judgment going around in this room. That does say engadment.
I think there's an extra.
All right.
Okay.
You can. Hey, just put a period after that G. That's totally fine. Yeah.
Engage. Yeah.
No.
Engagement.
Yeah, that's no, that's engagement.
Exactly.
No.
All right.
Engagement.
Next line.
Engaging. Just do engaging.
Moving on.
Engage.
Just do engaging.
That's harder to spell.
Next line.
ING.
This doing, yeah.
No.
Next line. Planning games would be the next step. So, choose a game that we should use as an example.
Trash can
Soccer.
game.
Trash can.
On
Squirrels
trash
and
can
trees.
game.
Squirrels and trees.
Hate
Trash
that game.
can
Let's do
game.
trash can.
Trash can game.
Bucket ball.
Bucket ball.
Bucket ball, there you go.
Trash
ball.
can game.
Bucket ball.
Let's do bucket ball. The reason I want to do bucket ball is because not a lot of people know what it is, and it'll be a good example.
Starbucks great.
Nobody knows what that is because you made it up. All right, so the heading is planning games.
I hated that game.
No, you didn't.
Playing games.
You played it like twice.
So, obviously, the first thing you need to do is understand the rules clearly. And this is how you know if you understand the rules. You find someone who has never played the game before and you describe it to them quickly and then have them explain back what you just explained and see if they get it, if you explained it well. If you can explain it to one or two people that have never played the game before, then when you get up in front of people, try to direct the group, then you'll know how to say it and what to say. So, understand the rules clearly, and then use your imagination as best as you can to come up with as many problems as you can think of that may happen in the game. Okay? So, for instance, let's say we're playing 9 square. And you can, or no, bucket ball, I'm sorry. I was thinking bucket ball. Okay. You're going to describe bucket ball. So what I want you to do is get with a partner for just a minute and take 1 to 2 minutes and explain the rules to bucket ball, and then we'll switch people and go back to the other one. You guys haven't played bucket ball yet, have you? So, Isaac, you could go with one of them.
Okay.
And who else feels really good about their ability to explain it? Hua, you can go with one of them.
I haven't really done it.
You understand it, Joe?
I don't understand
Okay.
game at all. Are we going?
So, Serafina and KK? Yeah,
Okay.
go.
The goal of bucket ball is you want to get the ball into a bucket.
But the goal
There's
is
2
to
teams
ball
in
in
the
the
kind of similar to basketball. Teams are split up. Has ultimate frisbee type rules where if you have the ball, you can't really move.
Yell
And pass it to your teammates and try to get across to the gym where someone on your team is holding a bucket, standing on a chair, and you try to get the ball into the bucket.
And you
Do it, you get a point. And then the ball goes back to the other team, and they try to make their way across. Usually we have like a pass or a pass at least once or twice. You can't just shoot it from across the gym. And then if it's up in the air, anyone can grab it and swat it down. If you're on the team and it's swatted or you drop it or it hits the ground, then it goes to the opposite team and it goes to the other side's team and you just go back and forth.
The beach teams are here and they're for or
Can
air
you,
buckets.
is there any like
So,
forward movement
the balls,
rules? You
only
gotta like pass it back.
Oh no, you can pass it anywhere you want to, but if you can move as much as you want to, unless there's a has the ball, you can give it around, and then it's first we have to pass it to
the ball
other
is
people.
put right here on the 18. Somebody from the 18.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
He's gonna try and throw it
Go
over
ahead and switch, and if you explained it well, the other person will be able to explain it back well.
Now I'm gonna explain it back to you.
Yep.
Yeah, right. So it's similar to ultimate frisbee.
Yep.
And also
You've got a
basketball.
basketball
There you go.
and by the person standing on a chair.
And
And then
there's
you're here,
Yep.
the other team's
Two
here,
teams.
and you're
And
trying to get your
you can
ball
run
into
around,
this
do whatever
basket.
until
But every
you
time
have the ball,
get
then you have to stop. You can
stop.
still pivot,
So you can pass
but
it,
you
then
can pass it
stop.
along.
And
And the goal is to get it into a bucket being held by your teammate on one end of the field.
Field gym, yeah.
So basically, it's like, okay, I have it here, and then as soon as I get rid of it, I'm gonna run this way.
Yes, exactly.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
So is there any like points, like you reach a certain point range and then like
We're just gonna go until the night, till the game time is over, whoever's the most points wins.
Gotcha. How many people on a team? Just whatever.
It just, how many people that are playing the game, we split them up as teams, we get it.
All right, let's bring it back together.
They're not listening.
Do I need to be standing?
Yes, you're still.
Oh.
What did you guys discover about trying to explain the game?
It's hardish.
It's harder than you thought? Ish. Yeah.
It's easy. It's
Laura was
simple.
our information.
I think it's pretty simple.
So for those of you who hadn't played it before, what was it like hearing the?
I think she did a really good job.
Yeah.
But I am someone who has a really split focus. So for me, learning how to do something is like it's better for me to just do it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she explained it really well. So it makes sense in my head, but then I would have to go.
Yeah. So that's a really good point, and you want to kind of expect that with a lot of people. So the idea is, well, we'll get to this more when we talk about explaining games, but the idea is you give people exactly what they need to be able to play and start having fun, but then you're explaining it as the game continues on, especially with new people. So with bucket ball, what are some potential problems? I've actually been thinking about some very serious problems with bucket ball lately. Yes.
How do you guard the other team's bucket, I guess?
Yeah,
Appropriate way to do that?
so the buckets are getting knocked out, flying through the air, and we're getting super tall people that are blocking every single shot. KK, what was yours? Okay, louder.
Like people when like
You
you
have to.
tackle other people or how to separate the team equally, like that's fair.
Yeah, there technically is a rule in bucket ball that you can't get within 3 feet of the person with the ball. That's true. That's true. We have kind of an 80s NBA style of playing bucket ball. Yes.
Did you call Nick or me?
You.
Okay. You have to make sure, because I remember we used to play with those baskets that had the little holes in it and it would cut people's fingers. Make sure
Yeah.
you have a good basket.
Yes, that aren't break. That's excellent point. That aren't breaking and
Slicing your hand.
slicing your hands. Yes.
A lot of times people who are holding the bucket are like fearing for their life.
Yeah. So
People are like getting so close trying to guard it, and then they're like jumping backwards, and people are literally standing on a chair and like.
yeah. So that's the what is happening right now.
I'm sorry.
That's the big one we need to fix before we play it again. Is people falling off the chair when they're holding the bucket. That's the one that I'm most worried about. Now, technically in bucket ball, you're supposed to have a perimeter around the chair that people can't get close to it.
We had rules.
So
We did. Or tape. We had tape.
tape.
We don't do rules.
I know.
We play to win.
So when you're planning, you're thinking about potential problems before they happen. Understand? And finally, not finally, there's 2 more things. Be sure to communicate different roles with your team. And so, like, let's say there's 3 people on games team. So you should have the person explain it, and you should have a person ready to go to either team so they can say, okay, who's holding the bucket? Go over there. You're going to hold the bucket there. Okay, pay attention, everybody. Look for someone to guard, and just kind of get them organized and ready to go. So whatever the game is, you want to make sure the different people have different roles, that they know what they're doing. And finally, plan for cleanup as you're planning for the game. So, for instance, if you think, it'd be really fun, like just a ketchup packet fight, just a full-on ketchup packet fight where we throw ketchup packets at each other, that would be so epic.
You wish.
So at some point, somebody needs to say, what's this cleanup going to look like? And just understand that. Now, I've actually thought one game we did years ago in youth group was a giant mashed potato fight.
What?
And there's a way to do that where you actually keep it relatively clean, just not the people. Yeah. And so there's ways to do it. It's not that you don't do messy games. It's that you think about the process beforehand. So like if we do stuff where people might, if we do things where people might throw up or food might fall, I will set down a tarp below the table or something like that, just so that cleanup is way easier. And when you're running games, you're responsible for cleaning up whatever that game is. And if it's a game right before the worship service, you have to have it cleaned up as soon as it's done with worship starting. All right. So you gotta have your team like, okay, you 2 are on table, you're grabbing the tarp, you're getting the paper towels, that whole thing. Any questions at this point? Pretty straightforward.
I want to do a mashed potato fight, but I open my mouth the whole time.
That might be true.
I eat dinner.
That might be true.
I eat either.
That might be true.
Get it?
You
So she
know,
talks
like,
like
mashed potatoes after it's been in a couple of pans.
No.
I just meant like she talks
No.
a lot,
No.
and her mouth always
All right.
Can't do that.
When you are explaining games, there is, so this is another one, explaining games. This is a mistake that some people make. So if you remember last Wednesday at game night, we had 4 teams, right? It would be a big mistake to break teams up into 4, put them in the 4 corners of the room, and then try to explain the rules. Because then you're talking to a whole bunch of different people. It's hard enough to explain games anyways. And so when you're explaining, you want to keep everybody together as much as possible right in front of you where they can hear you. So, for instance, when I brought you guys into the gym, I had everybody come right to the middle. Or when we were in the foyer, I had everybody line up. So everybody's in a line facing me. It's way easier to communicate that way. If you get a team behind you and a team in front of you, it makes it much harder to communicate the game. Does that make sense? Again, it's just like you have about a paragraph of time to explain a game. And so you got to make it count, make sure you get the big stuff, and think about it in terms of someone who's never played the game hearing it for the first time. If you want to take on the ultimate challenge of running a game, try running Capture the Flag sometime. It is the hardest game to explain. You could take 20 minutes to explain it, and then Capture the Flag.
Easy. You just have to
Oh,
She just signed herself up. That's what we're playing.
yeah.
I hate capture the flag.
But you just hide the thing and then you go find the thing.
I have.
What happens when somebody tags you when you try to cross the other side?
Then you go to jail.
Where's jail?
Wherever they put it.
How do you leave?
If someone gets you out of the jail from your team,
But how are they supposed to get there if they're gonna get tagged?
they don't
Don't get
tagged.
tagged, dude. Don't get
Well, what
tagged.
happens when you get tagged?
Anyways,
Just deal with it.
have you guys played Capture the Flag with the neutral zone where you can pull people across?
I
No.
love that.
We've done it
I have injured so many people that way. I'm very proud. Very proud.
with the safe zone.
Yeah.
Can I give you a little strategy?
Yes, please.
So there's always that big kid that you want to get, that you really want to get out, and they're always playing super safe because they know everybody wants to get him. Well, you grab a little kid who's a little careless, and they scream and yell, and then the big kid comes and grabs them, and you immediately just go from the little kid's hand to the big kid's hand, grab him, bring him across. You're good to go. Or, even better, you sneak up behind him and tackle him in the neutral zone and then roll him across before he gets up and knows what to do. I got a guy 100 pounds heavier than me that way one time. I know. I probably won't keep my job past it, but it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Totally worth it.
Yet. I don't think it will.
I know. I test the limits a lot, don't I? All right. This may seem like a simple thing, but it's not. Picking teams.
Some teams are like
Explain games is clear and concise and keep everyone in front of you.
Yeah, then we get the dodgeball pieces. It's like junior high, seniors, like everybody else over there. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Whatever
Then
team
it's just
Josiah's on is gonna win for dodgeball.
Really?
Yeah.
You're a dodgeball?
Yeah.
Really good. You're a dodgeball guy? I'm terrible at dodgeball. The next one is picking teams.
I dodge some bulls.
All right, I want to talk about 3 different ways of picking teams and some strengths and weaknesses and how you can fix them and make them better. The first one is to have 2 captains, which we almost never use. What is the big problem with having 2 captains?
their favorites. Like they pick their friends first.
It takes a long time. That's the big one. Someone's gonna be last. And you know who's oftentimes last is the new kid that nobody knows. So they're new to the youth group and they just got picked last. They may be amazing at the game. It doesn't matter because nobody knows. So you do not want to create that environment. So
You know who's the worst? You know who's the worst at picking the best team?
He knows
The
what he
worst.
wants.
Summer
I
volleyball,
appreciate that.
the worst. Oh my god.
wait, summer
Oh, no.
volleyball?
He's like, wait.
Oh yeah, remember
I'm
when we
confused.
used to play volleyball outside.
Yeah.
He picked teams.
You would pick. You just be like, you.
He picked me, so
Sorry.
I liked it.
Wait,
I took
when we did captains,
Yeah.
did I pick bad teams? I don't even know what I did.
Great teams. I
You
was on the
picked
team.
really
That's the
good.
problem. Is that you're like,
You
make
were
it
both
fair,
on
but
the
then
Yeah, we
you'd
were
be
both
like,
on
I
the
want
team
you, I
dominating.
want you, I want you.
Okay,
Everyone else.
first of all, this applies to us running youth games, not us doing adult games together.
That is all age games.
Adult games together is when Oscar and I are going to win.
Right now, Josh, there's always a little.
You could throw this all out the window for Sunday night volleyball. This is for teens, yeah. I could see the misunderstanding.
If it involves Josh, all the rules are out.
You don't even want to know what goes through my head as I pick teams as a captain. So if you want to do captains, there's 2 ways that you can do it to avoid the problems. The first way only works if you kind of know everybody, and that is you huddle together with the captains and you write down what they pick, so nobody knows. They just pick. You write down the team, and then you read out each team, and so nobody knows who is picked last. You can do it that way, or probably the faster way to do it is you let captains pick, but you tell them smallest people first. Smallest, youngest first. And so they pick between and then what you end up with is a couple big, strong athletes that get picked last, and usually they don't care because everybody knows they're the best anyways. So, all right.
I can relate.
It's actually an honor to be picked last. Numbering people off, which is what we did for our last game night. What can be the problems with numbering people off?
People can
People
trick
trying
the
to
system.
get in the right order.
People rig the system, and there's 2 big reasons why people rig the system. What are they? To be with their friends and to win. Exactly. To be with their friends and to win. And again, guess what happens to the new kid? Hey, stand here. Why? What's happening? What's going on? Like, you're totally using them to get your way.
They could have said no.
They got a whole
Now, there's a couple of ways to address this. And one thing I just want to say right off the bat is that there's nothing wrong with people being with friends on a team. In fact, if it's a new kid, I prefer that they be with their friend. And some youth leaders or some youth groups are like, we got to split everybody up and we got da. And I'm not necessarily like that. So I want people to have a good time. A lot of times they have a better time with their friends, as long as they don't huddle up in the corner of the gym and just talk while the ball's flying by their little circle. Yeah. So,
Stand there and watch a curveball and be nice. No.
Just get good.
Sit down.
they get good. The third problem with numbering off teams is that you can end up with really unfair teams at times. So, here's how we address this. Number one, I almost always have people line up tallest to shortest because that naturally breaks up the matchups, typically. The other thing I will do is one of these. So like I'm going down, and people hate this, but it works really well. I'm going down the line and I'm not looking for 1-2, 1-2. I'm looking for the matchups. So I'll say like, okay, Serafina and KK are a matchup. So 1-2. Okay, Joe and Isaac are a matchup. 1-2. And so if they're a little bit apart, and people hate that because they get their line all situated and then you're just picking exactly what you want to ruin it. You can also go doubles. 1-1, 2-2. 1-1, 2-2.
In the middle of the line, because then you can see what you're doing at the beginning, and then you can switch it.
Well,
Then at that point,
it's tough to switch it if you go tallest to shortest, but I noticed you guys tried anyways. So, yeah. That's a great way to switch things up to go 1-1, 2. The reason that I did it straight up is it was 1, 2, 3, 4, and nobody knew that it was 1, 2, 3, 4, so it was really hard to line yourself up accordingly. And yet they still tried.
We definitely need 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
No.
Cameron thought he was going to be on my team so bad, and then it was Aaron, and Cameron was so upset. Then I hit him.
Poor Cameron.
Zoe.
Yes,
you did.
No, I didn't.
There are
Even with you two on the same team, you still lost.
there are creative ways to pick teams, like by grade, which we've done, which you got to be careful about.
I don't like that. No.
Juniors and seniors versus freshmen and sophomores.
No.
But on the 8th and
Not
7th
great.
and 6th grade.
Unless you're playing soccer.
But you can
Yeah.
you can do things like have you can have yellow and red suckers in a basket, and you give everyone a sucker when they come into youth group. They think you're just giving them a little gift, and then whatever color their tongue is, that's what team they're on.
Yellow. They're like red and blue.
Be like, yeah, blue.
Red and blue or whatever. You get the idea.
Maybe like a pink would work.
Give them funded.
There we go. Now here's the thing. Again, the goal is that people are engaged. The goal is that people are having fun. If a team starts really losing badly, they tend to disengage with the games.
So I just switch people around halfway.
And so that's why I switch people around. So when it comes to teams, at any time you can say, you're over there. And the reason you do that is to try to get everybody should have a sense that they can win, if possible. So like when Paul led, I can't remember what that game is called with the tic-tac-toe with the chairs.
Oh, yeah.
And like all the old school Ignite people were on one team who had played that for years, and it was a slaughter. Now, given
It was like 7-0.
That game was
the other team, and I'm sorry if one of you was on this team, but it was ridiculous because there was like 2 in a row and they weren't sitting in the third one.
yeah.
But
Big brain.
But when you see that, you switch 2 people, something like that. Okay? You can always switch people. Finally, while you're running games, yes. Oh, you're not asking a question. You're just, okay. Just, My mistake. When you're running a game, how do you know if it's going well?
If you're winning.
You're usually not playing if you're running the game.
You might. If you lose track of time. If people are
If you hear
engaged.
That's actually not a bad answer.
laughing and crying.
So,
I do that every day.
about the crying part. So people are laughing, people are loud, people are engaged.
If someone's hurt, it's a good game.
That is true.
If they're in gag,
I mean, if Nick is hurt, yeah.
if I'm hurt, it's a good game.
We gave Nick a concussion too, so yeah. He ran square into someone in the dark.
Yeah.
No.
And then they moved.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do a part 2 of this train to tell you guys how I made a youth wet themselves in a game. No, I didn't make Zoe wet. No.
She's just a natural.
All right. Yeah, so people are having fun. People are engaged. People look like they know what they're doing, for the most part. So, what are some ways that you can keep the energy high as the game time is continuing?
Mix it up.
Encourage each other.
Mix it up how?
You could switch people,
Yeah?
add another element into the game.
Yep. Absolutely.
Something new. Like if you're playing dodgeball, I don't know. Something
We're gonna
like
play
Don't be
baseball and
repetitive with the game selection. Like not dodgeball or like NASCAR every week.
Bucket ball.
Paul, did you hear that? So, I'm talking to the camera. Yeah, so switching things up, but adapting the rules can be really helpful. Dodgeball is the ultimate game for adapting the rules. There are so many rule changes you can say. You could say throw with your offhand. You can say like military dodgeball where you get hit on a limb, you can't use that limb anymore.
Okay, what?
Something like that. And so you give Lauda a moment.
I don't know what happened.
No.
You give people an experience, and then you up the ante a little bit, and then you up the ante a little bit. Now, games like 9 Square don't necessarily need that. People stay pretty engaged. But with a lot of other, so when we did elbow tag, you start with one group, and then you let them play for a little while. Then you add a second group, and then add a third group. It makes it a little more exciting, a little more chaotic. Yes, up the ante. What other ways can you keep the energy high?
encourage each other.
Yep. Can you encourage each other?
That one. It'd be like, let's go, guys, bring it on.
Be a high. So one of the questions that I almost always ask before I lead a game is who's going to win? Yeah, who's going to win? And Lauda always screams and yells.
But get this.
And Zoe screams and yells.
Heart is there. The heart.
I'm gonna throw this.
We don't
Now this is especially big if you're running something from up on stage. You want to keep the crowd engaged. So like, oh, this person's falling behind. They need to hear you cheering. Come on. Or, what's it going to be? Red or blue? Who's going to win? Or
Like a
30
basketball game.
seconds left. Make those cakes.
something like that.
What? Delirious.
It helps a lot when you guys amp up your energy as well. So just as people playing, not like in a fake weird way, but just push yourself to have fun.